Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I hope you're doing super fantastic as always. And when I talk about the simulation, I kind of go back and forth with whether or not it's a simulation in mind or if it's a simulation in some kind of computer or whatever. But the thing is if it were a computer simulation, meaning some kind of machine, well, then that presupposes mind. I mean, that means that some mind, some organic mind, had to invent it, had to maintain it, things like that. Of course, then there are those out there who are like, well, no, it's an AI simulation and things like that. And I'm like, well, okay, all that's fine, except that when you peel all the layers back, as I've said many times, when we peel it all the layers of reality all the way back, because it could be simulations all the way down, just stacked, right? Nonetheless, when we peel it all the way back, we ultimately end up back at the universal mind, the universal consciousness, where we all derive from. Now, this particular experience that we are in is artificial, which I'm said many times. I'm not opposed to going down that road. That is fine. We can go. We can. This very well may be artificial, and there's many reasons why I would think so. One would be the four stages of the simulacrum. Jean Baudrillard, the four stages of the simulacrum, about how reality will morph through four stages. And in the fourth stage, be not even really a caricature of the original. In fact, it says that in the fourth stage, reality does not even resemble what it originally was. It morphs to the point where it is a copy, but it's a copy that has no original. It's morphed so much that it's cartoonish. It's not even there's not even a copy. It doesn't resemble anything. It's become its own thing. But yet it started out as a copy of an original reality. And that does seem to be what is happening in our experience, in our world. Things do have morphed. I mean, just in the past 20, 25 ish years, if we look at just people, and like people we all recognize, say celebrities, people in Hollywood or whatever, if we look at those people, they have really become not even what we would call an original human anymore. The modifications, and I'm not going to get into all that, but all the things that they do to themselves physically, and then they don't even really resemble humanity from the inside, right? But that's just one of the things that would indicate to me that this is possibly artificial. Another one would be how all of this seems to be kind of overseen. That's the word I'm looking for. Overseen. Hey, dear loved one, since I messed up, if you haven't yet hit the like button, please do so. And also, if you have not yet subscribed, please do that as well. Thank you. I would really appreciate that. But it does seem to be overseen by some, well, entity that doesn't necessarily have our best interest in mind. It doesn't necessarily have it out for us, but it's definitely got its own agenda. And we serve that agenda. We being humanity, the collective as a whole. And that's why, as I've said many times, I do believe that humanity are kept in that dumbed down, asleep state. That's why they are kept in perpetual states of fear and anxiety and worry and guilt and shame and just everything that people seem to be just bothered by throughout life. That goes back to the whole Robert Monroe's theory of loosh. And I realize that there's more to the whole loosh thing than just negative emotions. But that's also that serves two purposes. One, it keeps people in that dumbed down state. Plus, it keeps them producing that low vibrational energy that these overseers would harvest for their own purposes, for energy, to maybe power the sim or to as their own sustenance. Well, there's been lots of, David Icke and Robert Monroe. They've all kind of put their own spin on that whole concept. But when we look at it that way, it really makes a lot of sense. When we break down the hierarchy, it makes a lot of sense. These overseers would appear to be artificial. So therefore, artificial intelligence is not stretching it out there too far to go for. We, dear loved one, we are organic intelligence. So we are OI. There's AI and then there's OI. We are OI. Organic intelligence. And this artificial intelligence, this overseer, the Gnostics would call it the demiurge, or to give it a name, it would be Yaldabaoth, the false god, the god of this world, and the archons. The archons would be, the demiurge's minions. And their job is to make sure that we, humanity as a whole, stay in that asleep state, keep staying as good little worker bees, keep producing that loosh, that low vibrational energy. However, whoever created this, whether they meant for it to be hijacked by the demiurge and the archons, whether that was just a wrinkle thrown in there just for fun, or if it was a virus that was installed in the system after the fact. And it's like, well, you're in it now, so we got to let it ride out. Either way, it doesn't matter, because here we are. It's what we got. So these archons, they, as I've said, keep people in the low vibrational state, keep them cycling through because of fear and all of those things. They when they come into a life, they stay asleep at the wheel, I guess is what their hope is, that they stay asleep at the wheel. However, the creator on the outside of this was smart enough to put in reset events, so that periodically, if you follow the archaics research, about every 138 years there is an event. It's not a total reset, but it does occasionally do that. But throughout history, there's lots of evidence of resets. And these resets of events would be just like in any kind of simulated game, where there would be times where you just kind of press the stop button. And there is lots of evidence around the world that this has happened. For example, one of my favorite examples that I give is the woolly mammoths that were found in the frozen tundra, frozen in the permafrost. And they were flash frozen to the point where they were peacefully grazing in some meadow. I'm imagining this, of course, but they were peacefully grazing on buttercups. They were frozen so rapidly and so thoroughly to the point where the buttercups were still resting on their tongue as they were eating. And there were still buttercups undigested in their stomachs. This wasn't some big cataclysm, some big asteroid falling from the sky. They weren't running for their lives. This isn't something that happened over time. This is something that happened instantly. Another example is the giant clams that are found. They are fossilized in the closed position. You see, if they had died and then fossilized, which there are clams that have, they would be in the open position. But these are in the closed position, meaning they were still alive when they fossilized. Instantly. So these events happen periodically, and I got to believe that it's for kind of for maintenance. One, to keep these archons from getting too much control. Also, for those of us who have awakened, for those of us who have achieved, dare I say it, a state of gnosis, where we have come to know the truth. It's time for us to be extracted. We finally got it. It's time for us to be extracted. And I got to believe that the archons, the overseers, would really rather us just go because they don't want us awakening other people. So those of us who are awakening, I got to believe it's probably our last go around here. Why? Because they're like, we can't have you coming back. We can't have these people who are awakening and keep awakening others. But anyway, that's getting off the subject a little bit. But when we talk about the hierarchy, there are those among the human collective who are in the know, the elites. We may even call them the cabal, right? As I've said before, there are those, and there have even been a few here and there, celebrities who seem to have been read into the program. See, when in the military, when someone's read into a say they join a special program or some special force, when they decide, yeah, I will join this group, they are then read into the program. What that means is they are told, well, this is what we do, this is how we're funded, this is our cover story to the public, the whole spiel. That's being read in. And there have been celebrities who have said that they were told, hey, if you want to be, and if you want to have all the fame and fortune in the world, then this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to all these things that they do, right? All these things that these celebrity types do to keep the public, keep the human collective, do their part to keep them in that low vibrational state, to keep them in that asleep state, to stir up division, stir up envy. That seems to be the big one these days. Well, division and envy, dividing people for different cultural reasons, and then envy. I mean, I'm not going to get into that. You're smart enough, dear loved one, you can see it yourself. You don't need me to explain it to you. But there are those among the human collective who are in the know. And I think that they also know that there are reset events, true reset events, such as the mud floods that they talk about. I mean, we don't have to look too far. We can find in Chicago, Illinois, there are buildings where at street level there are windows that are half submerged in the ground. It's like, how did that happen? And I know they're going to say, oh, it was resurfacing. It wasn't resurfacing. That's just the cover story. There's evidence when we find buildings, like I've mentioned lots of courthouses and libraries, just scattered throughout America and across the entire world. But I mean, even in America, there are buildings that were in the Midwest and all that in a time that was barely settled. But yet they have these huge, grand marble and granite buildings that are just enormous and just beautiful structures that were built. If you really look at the time frame, it's like they were built at a time when they were really just settling the land. And it's like, how did they didn't build that in like 18 months or something. I mean, it's always something absurd. But the public just says, oh, well, yeah, they built it in 1850. It only took them 18 months to build it. And it's like, there's no way. The schoolhouse was a log cabin. But yet the courthouse is amazing. And then the decor is these, I don't know, some kind of Greek mythological things. It's like, yeah, they were real interested in that in Iowa in 1850. Yeah, they were real interested in Greek mythology, and they had all these, like a scene of some big banquet with all these, mythological deities and, stuff like that. It's like, no. No. That's left over. Those buildings are left over, were refound. When they say they were founded in, they were founded, all right. They were found in 1850. They were left over from a previous run on the sim. So that's why I tend to believe that this may be an artificial sim. Doesn't mean we're artificial. We are definitely. I know this because we do have a higher self, and I know this because I have connected with my higher self, and I encourage you to do that as well. Get into meditation. Put out the call. Your higher self is there. It's already having experience through you. But to connect with it, that's going to take some effort on your part. Not that it doesn't want to connect with you. It's just that we have been programmed to believe that we can't. We've been programmed to believe that that's just a bunch of hocus pocus. But it's not. Your higher self is there and will guide you. That's your true self on the outside. That's the player on the outside of the game, if we're going to look at it from the video game analogy. But yes, I do tend to believe that this particular experience may be artificial. I'm not entirely sold on that idea, because I have had experiences where I certainly was outside of this. But I didn't wake up in some reclined position. Although there are those stories of people who have said that they blinked out of this reality. They just kind of blinked out and they woke up and they even heard people talking like, "Uh-oh, we got one awake," or something. I can't remember what the story was exactly. But there have been those stories where someone said, something happened. And they said the next thing I know, I wake up and I've got this, contraption on my face and whatever. And I hear people saying, "Oh, we got one awake," or whatever, things like that. Those are kind of fascinating. They're definitely fun to read. And no, there's no way to know if they're true or not. But anyway. But dear loved ones, by searching for the nature of this reality and our meaning here. See, I know there's so much meaning here because there's so much symbolism. There's so much symbology in everything. The golden ratio, for example, that's all the sacred geometry that we have discovered. Nobody's invented it. It's been discovered. When we look out into the cosmos and we see perfect golden ratio and in the formation of galaxies, all the way down to the pattern of rose petals in a rose. Everywhere we look is a golden ratio. That shows intelligence. That shows that it was already here. We're discovering it. It shows that there's meaning. It shows someone took a lot of care to put that there for us to discover and to have an awakening. Yeah, I think it's our last time around here. A couple of reasons. One, and that gets back to the reset events. When those reset events, those are one, it's to keep the things from getting too out of control. Two, it's to give those of us who have awakened that extraction point so we can be safely extracted out of here. It's like, okay, it's time to get those guys out. Maybe there's going to be some new ones come in. I mean, that's probably the case. So get in contact with your higher self. Find out what it is. What is it that I need to finish? What am I here to discover? What do I need to? I want to finish out this. So, anyway, dear loved ones, yes, that's what I've got. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do that. I would so appreciate it. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do that. And I'm going to cut this on off here right at the 20-minute mark. But besides that, I do love you. I really do. and I'll be back directly.